vessels that are going to the main organs of the body and coming back to the heart. First of all, let's talk about artery. As we know, artery is the blood vessel that carries the blood away from heart, while vein carries the blood back to the heart. Remember, vein, we have N, so N means into the heart. Don't tell me that artery carries oxygenated blood. It is not always oxygenated. As you know, that the pulmonary circulation that is going to the lungs and coming from the lungs, a pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein is different from other veins and arteries. So don't tell me that this carries oxygenated and the other one carries deoxygenated. No, tell me about the direction of the blood where it is going. If it is out of the heart, then it is carried by artery. If it is back to the heart, then it is carried by vein. As we know that arteries and veins are much bigger than the size of tissues and cells. So suppose there is an oxygenated blood is going by or pumped through aorta to the body in order to supply cells with enough oxygen for respiration. As we know that aorta carries blood at high pressure, and then it gets branched into many arteries that are going to each organ, such as kidney, heart, liver, and so on. Now, these arteries also still carry high blood pressure, so they cannot rush the blood directly to the tissues. So the tissues, first of all, will be damaged, and the second point, that there won't be efficient diffusion of substances because the arteries cannot supply the blood directly to the tissue. No efficient diffusion of substances because arteries carry blood at high pressure and they are much bigger than tissues, so they cannot supply the tissues without damaging these tissues. That's why arteries should branch into smaller, tiny blood vessels that are called arterioles. Then arterioles branched into another tiny blood vessels that are called capillaries. Now, so capillaries, as you see in the picture, are mesh or network of blood vessels to exchange substances with tissues or at cellular level, at the level of the cell, because the cell is so tiny, so microscopic. It needs a tiny blood vessel to supply it with materials that it needs. So, capillaries, they take substances from artery and give it to the cells and take away waste products and carbon dioxide, as we see here, or sometimes, such as in the lungs, it takes the capillary takes oxygen. So what I want you to know, that capillaries like connection between arteries and veins at cellular level to make the diffusion of substances efficient without damaging tissues and cells. So the capillaries take the substances from the artery, give it to the cell, then give it back to the veins. Now let's talk about veins. Veins carries the substances back to the heart. Also, they take it from tissues through capillaries. Now let's talk about the detailed structure of each and how each is adapted to do its job. Arteries, in order to carry blood at high pressure and to tolerate or withstand, in order not to get damaged by this high blood pressure, the structure of artery is adapted to this job. First of all, as you see here, we have thick outer layer. The outer layer, it has thick wall. It has thick wall, which has collagen fibers. That means it is elastic. Elastic, it's flexible, resilient, in order to stretch, in order not to get broken. So the wall is elastic and thick at the same time, in order not to get broken. Then we have also a thick wall of muscle, or thick layer of muscle. Also, it is called elastic muscles. As we know, the function of the muscles is movement. So the function of the muscle here in the artery, and it is thick in order to recoil on the blood, to push blood further and further, to squeeze on the blood, pushing it further and further. As you see, the cavity inside